not so boring. But we have a Mexico problem. We have a Colombia problem. Meaning Colombia, the country. We're doing very well. Drugs coming into our country are greatly slowed, as you can imagine.
On the tariff rollback, sir, does this signal a change on your message for affordability?
Well, I just want to bring down something that was for the most part, the foods, when we cut back a little bit on those tariffs, we'll get the price down. But they're not competitive in this country, like tomatoes and bananas and things. We don't make them in this country. So there's no protection of our industries or our food products. So what we're going to do is we cut back, we see prices come down even lower. You have to understand, we've all suffered from the Biden prices, which were much higher than they are right now. But I'll be able to get them down even lower, or at least a little bit lower, possibly in some cases a lot lower.
More rollbacks in the future with your tariff policies? Will there be more rollbacks in the future? Will you change anything else with tariffs?
I don't think it would be necessary. We just did a little bit of a rollback on some foods, like coffee, as an example, where the prices of coffee are a little bit high now. They'll be on the low side in a very short period of time. We're very good at this. The problem is we inherited a country we took over January 20th where the prices were through the roof. So they were up 30, 40, 50%. If we got them down 30%, that means they're still higher than where they were. We had a great 4 years, and I think this is going to be even much better. And in terms of affordability, it's not a good word for the Democrats. It's a good word for us because our prices are much lower and will soon be much, much lower than they were under the Democrats.
Mr. President, my newspaper, The Telegraph, has led the way in exposing...
Are you the Telegraph?
That's right.
Oh, what a job you did. What a job you did. Are you proud of yourselves?
We've had a good...
How did we catch BBC like that?
We have good sources.
Honestly, congratulations. You did a great service to a lot of countries, a lot of great human beings, if you want to know the truth. And exposing what fake news is all about, what BBC did. Nobody would even think a thing like that. They actually changed the words coming out of my mouth.
So the BBC has apologised and retracted the report when they say they won't pay any compensation.
Well, we'll sue them. We'll sue them for anywhere between $1 billion and $5 billion, probably sometime next week.
So you're ready to take...
Well, I think I have to do it. I mean, they've even admitted that they cheated. Not that they couldn't have not done that. They cheated. They changed the words coming out of my mouth. That's worse than what CBS did with Kamala. They changed her answer, but at least it didn't show it, coming out of her mouth.
Do you think it's appropriate that British TV viewers have to pay more than $200 just for the right to watch television? Do you think the license...
Well, I don't know what they do in a place that I like a lot, in general, UK, right? But the people of the UK are very angry about what happened, as you can imagine, because it shows the BBC is fake news. Of course, you and I knew that for a long time, but we didn't know it was this fake.
Have you raised the issue with Sir Keir Starmer?
I have not, but I'll call him. I'm going to call him over the weekend. He actually put a call into me. He's very embarrassed by it. I don't know what percentage is owned by the country, but regardless if it's small or large or nothing, I can say this, the UK is very, very embarrassed by BBC, what they did.
Mr. President, you said that tariffs do not increase prices for consumers, but now you're lowering
I didn't say they don't. I say they may in some cases, but to a large extent they've been borne by the country. As an example, we have virtually no inflation, and yet we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. So we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. We've used tariffs to stop wars. You look at India and Pakistan, look at so many wars they stopped just by saying, I'm going to impose tariffs on your country if you're going to have war.
So if tariffs are increasing prices...
Yeah, in that case it was nuclear war. And I stopped it by using tariffs. But oftentimes, and to a large extent, the countries themselves pick up the tab, the companies pick up the tab, and I find that based on inflation, we have virtually no inflation. When I inherited the country from Sleepy Joe Biden, the inflation, it was the highest inflation in the history of our country, or at least 48 years. They used 48. I say it was the history. We have now a low inflation, going to be very soon even lower. get some of the prices down a little bit, which will bring them down to a new level.
How much of the tab is being picked up by Americans?
I think very little. I mean, I really think very little. If you look at it, and when you add the trillions of dollars that our country is making, when you add the fact that I'll be giving back $2,000 or so to middle-income people, low-income people, everybody but the rich will be giving $2,000 back, and you add that in. When you add the fact that our country is extremely rich and we have no wars and we're respected again, when you add the fact that when China was threatening to us in terms of rare earths, I was able to solve it just by putting tariffs on China, and we made a deal a week later. When you add all of the benefits, the single greatest thing we have right now is the use of tariffs, and I use them properly. For years they've been used against us, and I think, whether you call them tariffs or anything else, if you didn't use them, you really would have an unguarded disaster in your hands.
Will those $2,000 payments, will that be inflationary? Because previously Republicans have said it's sending money to people like when they're buying
Yeah, well, the difference is this is money earned as opposed to money that was made up. That money was made up. Biden gave like the Inflation Reduction Act, which did not reduce inflation, and it wasn't meant to, and they admitted it was a phony name. But they spent hundreds of billions of dollars on a fake deal called the Inflation Reduction Act. That was made up money. When I pay people $2,000 each for low and moderate income and middle income people, everybody but the rich get this. That's not made up, that's real money. That comes from other countries, yeah.
Speaking of China, since you made the deal, since you struck the deal with them, has the Chinese agreed to actually purchase any soybeans? Have they locked in any soybean purchases?
Yeah, and they're in the process of doing it. We spoke to them today. They're in the process of doing not only a little bit, but they'll be doing a lot of soybean purchase.
Do you know when? In the spring?
It's starting. Before then, I think before.
Okay.
It's starting.
Can you say
They'll be buying a lot of soybeans, but really, Jennifer, a lot of everything else.
Can you say who you spoke with or who your team spoke with?
Top of the line. Top of the line.
Just on the rebate check, sir, how soon could Americans see those checks? Will that be in time for Christmas, holiday shopping?
No, not for this year. It'll be next year sometime.
Do you have a time frame?
No, sometime during the year, next year. It's a lot of money, but we've taken in a lot of money from tariffs. The tariffs allow us to give a dividend if we want to do that. Now, we're going to do a dividend, and we're also going to be reducing debt. We have, because of Biden and others, we have 37 trillion in debt. So we're going to be doing a dividend, which people will enjoy and spend and do what they want. But we're also going to be reducing debt very
But if
substantially.
the Supreme Court was against you, sir, is there
Well, then
any
I'd
plan to...
have to do something else. We'll have to figure something else. That would be a very sad day for our country. Just today, I stopped a war. I won't go into which one, but you'll be able to figure it out.
Cambodia, Thailand.
But that was quick, very smart. Thank you. But just today, I stopped a war